Gamers, gals, non-binary pals. Happy New Year, and for this New Year's, I resolve to leech more content. Too many video essays, too many discussion posts, too many debates about I think card good versus I think card bad. My reaction when I think that yugioh is good and I get a 92% like ratio. I don't know. Anyways, Farfa uploaded a video a while ago called Yu-Gi-Oh! Players Are Angry Again. And I want to give it a quick little watch. I think that I'm not angry. I'm just a chill little guy. But I can understand why people have frustrations with Yu-Gi-Oh! It's almost like my whole channel is built around bitching about Yu-Gi-Oh! You know what I mean? I love complaining. I love whining. Bat chest. Alright, let's give it a watch.
The ban list that occurred last week was definitely a change of cards from their various forms of limitations, from unlimits to limits to returns to bans. This is a thing that occurred where changes did happen. In the wise words of one of our most prominent and philosophical political commentators of this, we must also consider the wise words of Ruxin34.
Back in my day, we used to look at this orange list right here and we'd see, you know, all the cards that were banned, limited, at 2, at 3. You guys know how there's different numbers that are very important.
Cards indeed did move around. So today's video, we're going to be discussing the ban list, not exactly the meta competitive relevancy of the decks and archetypes and all that kind of stuff. That's whatever, that's for other people to discuss and talk about. I'm here to speak a little bit about the concepts that this ban list sort of brings up for discussion once again, some of the player reactions to this, and what this actually means going forward in terms of your wallet, but also in terms of what you can expect as well from things like reprints and the general philosophy that has kind of shifted or re-emerged with this ban list. That's a whole lot of words that's going to make sense as you progress through this video, which you can support by becoming a YouTube channel member. Shout out to all of you who have decided to support this channel, get the cool emotes and the sub badge, and consider signing up today.
Wow! I'm not on that list. I'm poor. We can skip through this.
First and foremost, let's begin with the reveal of this ban list and what that actually means going forward. Now, the reveal of this ban list, for those of you who missed it and didn't get to join my fun little watch party that we had over that weekend, live on twitch.tv/Farfa. And now, by the way, multi-streaming on YouTube.
Oh my god!
We watched this on
so many plugs.
For those of you living under a rock, what happened? Konami announced the ban list physically in person live at YCS Anaheim. This is unprecedented, never before having happened in the history of this game.
That was cool.
At least not from what I can remember when I've been playing, and I've been around for like almost 12 years. So, really big milestone going forward for the players.
I was in Anaheim during this because I just like got bored and I was like, I have nothing better to do on a Sunday. I'm just gonna fly down to Anaheim, hang out with my friends who like aren't at the YCS. You know, go to Frankensons with like Chris and V and Forbes. You know, just have like a little gay old time. And then we were like watching the stream of Triff winning the YCS in like the Japantown parking lot, and we were like huddled around a phone also watching it at like the Bandless live react at like a boba shop, and like 3 of us had like our phones out ready on like TCG Player to buy anything out. And when we realized that all the good cards were not like nothing interesting or expensive was coming back, we're like, damn it, what's the point?
This whole like
no money
bit going on with Jerome having the ban list hidden away in this like briefcase. Kangas was like trying to steal it, and the casters were also like bodyguards who were like trying to protect the ban list, make sure it wasn't revealed too late until the actual end of the event when there was the podium that was brought up for Jerome to actually announce the list.
It's a really funny bit,
like,
but why does it look like
dumb
they're in a
and
fucking
stupid
warehouse?
And a little bit cringy, but it was so fun. It was hilarious to watch live with so many people. We were just going crazy and insane at the thought of this unfolding, and it was, I think, from what I can scour around on the internet, trust me as someone who's terminally online, I don't think I saw a single negative comment about the reveal of the ban list, which is like, when have you never not seen a Yu-Gi-Oh player complain? Like, hello, you're watching this channel. That is a whole round of W's for Konami that I don't think anyone could have expected to have such a unanimous agreement for something like this. The contents of the ban list. Yeah.
The ban list
complaints there.
reveal
But I'm
was
not
cool,
talking about that right now. We'll be discussing that a little bit onwards, but for now, let's talk about the reveal of the ban list. Regardless of what was revealed, the actual act of the revealing itself was absolutely incredible and 10 out of 10. So what does this mean for us going forward? I assume they've probably noticed that there is a huge positive reception to the ban list being revealed at an event, meaning that we can probably assume that this is going to happen going forward, and this is most likely going to set the standard for ban lists in the TCG henceforth. I don't know about you, but I feel like this is a positive thing that I don't think anyone is going to really find any flaw with. My only minor criticism is that I hope that they actually tell us about this in advance. Hey, YCS Florida's in February, we're gonna have a ban list, or YCS Birmingham, we're gonna have a ban list, blah blah blah, etc, etc. So that would be cool to know this thing in advance, and that's more so an issue that we've had for years at this stage, not really relevant to the actual reveal that they did, but something a little bit more set in stone, like the OCG gets. By the way, the OCG do get ban list reveals at predetermined dates and times for the players to check out. And I think it was only up until COVID they would have like these crazy big live streams and stuff revealing the list, which, I don't know, maybe that's also the future for us going forward too. Rulers.
For a while, if you guys remember, the OCG used to have like a little live show whenever they wanted to like announce cards. They still do, but it was like way bigger, like pre-COVID, when like they would have like the Dark Magician Girl cosplayer. She would like dress up and like announce the ban list and like new cards and stuff like that. I thought that was like really cool. Konami, if you're looking for like a Zodiac Whiptail cosplayer, I got you.
And Tiger all to 3 is cool. I love that the game is at a place where 3 Pankratops is healthy, and he's a fantastic card into half boards that the Charmies enable. OSS ban is sad because I love Rescue Ace, but it was probably the correct Snake Eye hit. 10 pie hits were also great. So again, sticking with the positives for now, there was a lot of good things done with this ban list, which is essentially removing the competitive viability of Snake Eye, which a lot of people were very much exhausted from, and I think as a player base we can all agree we developed a ton of fatigue from this deck over the course of the last year. And we've also lost Tenpai, which is going to be a controversial discussion in of itself I'm going to get into, but overall there is a general sentiment that Tenpai is not a fun experience to duel against and even with. And that's not to say Tenpai is completely dead, because as of writing this video, there are regional tops for Tenpai still.
We don't talk about the Fiendsmith Tenpai list. We don't talk about that cursed little atrocity that is Fiendsmith Kashtira Tenpai. That deck is not only demented, but I think it's evil. I think there's like a primordial evil that lives in that deck. It's kind of like, if you guys have ever played like Fire Emblem Fates, and like the evil king has like the sludge dragon inside of him. I feel like every Tenpai card has like a little fragment of Hitler's soul in it, you know what I mean?
Post-ban list. Can you believe it? But yeah, losing a ton of consistency here, and at least at the Premier event, YCS level going forward, I'm going to be extremely shocked if we'll see more than a singular top from Tenpai at any one event going forward. I mean, they had 2 at YCS Anaheim at full power. Imagine what it's going to be like now going forward with 1 Kaiman and Chandra. So essentially what this ban list is saying, we're not talking about the competitive viability here, but more so the philosophy that they've developed in this event, which is that it is out with the old, in with the new. I enjoyed the fun and fanfare they put into presenting the ban list, but I think it was overly transparent with how much it pushes crossover breakers. This is a list that would have been appreciated 4 months ago, but now it's a little bit awkward. And I think Team APS really hits the nail on the head here. This is something that I think would have been really positively appreciated and would have had overwhelmingly well-received positive reception from the players if this was the last ban list and not this one. Because out with the old, in with the new is something that makes sense from a business perspective, but it is really blatant and overt just how much this is. Hey guys, go buy crossover breakers. These new decks are better. Like literally.
Yeah, unfortunately, the perpetual cycle of Konami leaves deck around for way too long until they're right about to just upload a new deck or a new deck build pack or whatever, and they're just like, yeah, I know what we'll do. We'll just fucking ruin Snake Eyes and Tenpai forever. Go play a real deck, chat. It is very frustrating because it's all you can almost predict when your card values are gonna fall off the face of the earth. I'm not even joking. There is a very real chance that we're not gonna get a Ryziel hit or anything like that until Alliance Insight, which isn't until like April. Oh, what's also on April? Oh, that's right, another ban list. It's good. It's very frustrating that that's how Konami kind of decides to do those things, and we're not even guaranteed that the ban list is gonna kill whatever it's called. Like they might like do an OCG like limit X or limit like a Fiendsmith Engraver or they're going to like limit ice or something like that. Like there's no guarantee that it's even gonna kill it, but like every major set, it's like a coin flip of whether or not a deck is gonna get banned or not, and I think it's very frustrating that is how they do it. Doesn't the OCG player base hate how they do their ban list? I think OCG players just kind of hate their ban list in general rather than hate how the ban list is presented or dated.
Better, because you're killing the old decks.
Now, what does that actually mean, though? Let's look at the context of where we were with the YCS. There was one singular Snake Eye top at YCS Anaheim, of course, by Paulo Goncalves. Fala galera, one singular top pre-ban list for this deck. You would argue at that point, did we even really need a list? Same with Tenpai. There were 2 tops out of top 32. It really is strange, especially for Tenpai being what is considered to be the rogue deck of choice or a budget type of deck. Although, you know, Malcharmies aside,
you don't need to play those.
It came up in like one of my previous videos talking about why people quit Yu-Gi-Oh for the monetary reasons. I think people really missed the mark on the fact that, yeah, Pearly, for example, can play the expensive staples, but you don't need to still play that deck. Anyway, that's besides the point. That's a random tangent.
That's a stupid tangent. That's like saying, oh yeah, you could play Pearly, but you know, if you don't own hand traps, you could just fill it with vanilla normal monsters. Like, yeah, you could technically build it that way, but it would be ass and worthless, and you'd be better spending your money doing anything else.
Right, you were wrong. A lot of people don't like that Tenpai was hit so aggressively because it was a pretty decent anti-meta rogue option for a lot of players. Because like I said, you don't need to play those expensive staples. It is just a really strong, powerful deck that can do well with Dark Hole, Raigeki, Lightning Storm, and your Tenpai engine. But the question I'm asking is, did it really make sense to hit Tenpai and Snake Eye? Now, if we remove our biases aside, and we just try and explore this as card game players rather than specifically Yu-Gi-Oh players, you might really understand what I'm saying here. Just think about this conceptually. Snake Eye was a deck that's been around for X number of time. Only weeks ago we're talking, like barely a couple of months. We're talking weeks here. Snake Eye had a whole round of reprints, and then it just got killed on a list when it wasn't even competitively viable in the first place.
I don't know why this is like an argument that we keep bringing up and up and up and over and over and over again. Like, yes, Konami wants to farm their player base for as much money as humanly possible before ever banning or limiting any cards. Like, we've had this argument with the Dragon Rulers before, where like every Dragon Ruler got reprinted in the tins, and then like 2 weeks later, like everything got banned. You know what I mean? Like, this is a very common argument, or like a very common trend that hasn't really changed since 2012. You know what I mean? Shout out to Obama.
Got one singular top. You can't exactly say this is a competitively viable deck. I mean, depends where you're moving the goalposts into the definition and semantics of what competitively viable means, but it's hardly oppressive and dominating the meta anymore, is it? Like, you just kind of have to really look at this as a player and think to yourself, like, this is extremely cynical. Like, you make a whole round of reprints for a deck. Some people who only play budget now finally have the means to go and play Snake Eye, and then it's just killed with the banning of original Sinful Spawn. You cannot really play the Wanted engine anymore at all in Snake Eye. Like, you just killed the deck. I just think you have to look at that from a principle concept and ask yourself, how is that a reasonable business practice? And a lot of what I said also kind of applies to Tenpai too. 2 out of 10, one of the most openly commercial ban lists ever. No exciting releases, late hits, and no hit on the problematic cards. Only positive is the Tenpai hits. Thank you, Dimension Shitter, for your opinion.
Yeah, I wonder what card this guy doesn't like.
Now, I think the general sentiment is that this is a blatant PR push. Buy crossover breakers. Stop playing the old decks because they're not making money anymore. We need you to get the new product. Like, it's so overtly blatant when you look at this ban list. Because I think it's one of those things where it's like a natural power creep that didn't need a ban list. Some of you might remember this historical example I'm about to give, but just before the release of Zodiac and Raging Tempest in 2017, I believe, the meta before that was Paleo, Meadowfoes, and I think some DDD as well in the structure deck that had been released at the time. I think there was like one other deck as well that was viable. Paleo, Frog, Meadowfoe, and like a lot of people were saying like, oh, Toad is too broken, it's too strong. Meadowfoes are way too powerful, but then like Raging Tempest dropped and it was just better than those decks, so they didn't need to hit anything. You could argue that a lot of that kind of applies right now with crossover breakers. Like, we didn't really need to hit any Snake Eye cards because crossover breakers is going to naturally power creep it. You can literally see this from the result of the YCS, which is Paulo Goncalves' singular top cut spot of top 32 with Snake Eye pretty much at, well, not full power, but just, you know, with the limit of Ash and Poplar that it had before. So realistically, you know, when you look at that type of result, you ask yourself, why did we hit Snake Eye? because you don't like it and it's annoying. Sure, I do understand that, but that goes back to my discussion about the concept and principle of this forced rotation. The constant forced rotation of a game without rotation is starting to get a bit tiring. They drag their feet, hitting the tier 1-0 decks with minor hits until decks that can finally compete get released, and they slaughter them. The same thing happens every year.
The main reason why, even though like these decks technically don't need hits or whatever, is because even if these decks no longer are able to see consistent tops, if they're able to top in general, people are gonna want to play and buy these decks. Like, let's say that in this format, there's like yugioh, there's like Cash Fiendsmith, there's Malice, and then there's Labyrinth. Let's assume like all these decks are the same price except for Labyrinth, which is like 12 cents at a McDonald's, like McFlurry. And if you tell people that if you play one of the Malice, the Fiendsmith, yugioh, the whatever, you're gonna have like a 60% chance of topping an event. But if you play Labyrinth, it's still about the same power level, maybe a little bit lower, has a couple more issues, but it is significantly cheaper, and you only give up maybe like 20% win rate percentages. Like, most people are still going to be like, yeah, like, if this deck is still completely viable and able to get tops in its own way, a meaningful percentage of people are going to be like, yeah, I'm going to play the budget deck because the budget deck is still good. It's like Tenpai, where it's like, yeah, like Tenpai is not as good as yugioh, but it's like 12 cents in a McChicken. People are still gonna play it because why would they spend $600 to $800 on a deck when they can spend $60 to $80 on like Tenpai or whatever, and then just kind of like vibe out, brain off, monkey mode of that, and not need to buy crossover breakers. And guess what? People that buy crossover breakers eats into bottom line. So even though a deck may not be like very super viable in the same way it once was before, it's still going to, it even existing as a technically competitive option in large quotations, is going to drive profit down in some capacity. Like, that is the unfortunate reality.
You look at a pie chart like this and tell someone that the only hits were to the 4th, 5th, and 6th best decks, they will think that Konami was on drugs. So that's essentially what a lot of the complaints about the list has been. It's good in one way that they got rid of Snake Eye because we've just been exhausted and fatigued from it in general over the last year, but as Team APS I think really nailed it, this probably should have been last ban lists. A minor thing to bring up here is the representation aspect of what it means to top an event. So while you might look at one singular top from Snake Eye pre-ban list and think to yourself, oh wow, this deck is definitely dead, you need to understand that a lot of the people playing Snake Eye probably shifted on over to the new best decks, either because of the popularity in the OCG or because they actually thought it was a dominant, real, actual good contender in strategy, because anyone playing Snake Eye before this event, I wouldn't really classify as a rogue player. So there wouldn't really be any benefit to play Snake Eye post-ban list, or even post-reprint if you did want to play it a little bit because now the deck was available to you financially. All the best players have probably moved on to play yugioh anyway, even if Snake Eye would have been competitively viable. What I mean by that is that the representation mathematically is something that is objective and true that you need to consider. For example, if 500 players enter a YCS that has 800 players running Burning Abyss or Glad Beasts or Blackwing, you're going to see Blackwing in Top Cut. It doesn't mean that Blackwing is a great, amazing, fun, viable deck anymore. It just means that raw representation brute force carried that deck into success, which is potentially what a lot of the situation was at YCS Anaheim with something like yugioh and Malice doing so much better than Snake Eye and the other previous best decks. Now, we don't actually have the stats on what the raw entry deck breakdown is. I might be wrong, but I don't think we had the entry breakdown because it would be interesting to see the conversion rate of the decks. But representation is a mathematical phenomena that is relevant to this type of discussion that I did want to importantly highlight. And anytime I do these type of discussions, I do always bring this up because you do need to think about and factor this in. So, TLDR, what are we trying to say here? Basically, this ban list was good in the sense that it got rid of some of the most annoying decks, but it also was bad in the sense that it is basically just a monetary push for the new decks, and we didn't even see like some kind of semblance of a pre-hit. Like a lot of people were suggesting a limit on Bonfire would have been really good because you do hit Snake Eye without killing the deck, but you also pre-hit yugioh's dominance, which, as we've seen, 50% of Top Cut is Fiendsmith yugioh variants, and this deck only gets stronger in Supreme Darkness with a crazy new rank 4 that they have. Like, this deck...
Is it good? Is the new card good? Am I just tweaking? You could use rank 4s as level 4s for this material. You detach one material from this card. This card can make 2 attacks on each monster. It's if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can target 2 other rank 4s, special 1, and attach the other as material. Is that good? I can't really tell. How is that good? How is this like a good card? Is it good in like pure? Like, am I bad at Yu-Gi-Oh? Oh, maybe, oh wait, maybe you could like, is there like a way where you could use twins to like revive Detonator and like equip a duo drive to it? That's pretty good.
They have. Like, this deck is going to get even better. So, hitting Snake Eye, hitting Tenpai and Yubel now, when this deck is dominating and then going to dominate even further, it just doesn't make sense, especially from a budget perspective, if you decided to now pick up Tenpai, or you decided to pick up Snake Eye or Yubel or something from reprints. After the reprints, the Diabell Star engine they hit OSS, which kills support for many fire decks, instead of hitting the problem cards within the archetype. Unambitious on limits like Rulers, Cyberjar, and Barrage, which you can't do anything meaningful with. Meh. So, yeah, like I said, on the one hand, Snake Eye Dead good, but Snake Eye Dead also somewhat bad conceptually. I think they really hit the nail on the head when the comment stated that this is forced rotation. We are living in a game with rotation that doesn't officially have rotation. It's just done via an arbitrary ban list that sometimes drops whenever Konami kind of feels like dropping it. But the reveal was really cool. So that's awesome. All right, thank you so much, everyone, for tuning into today's video. I hope you have a fruitful, meaningful discussion in the comments discussing some of the concepts that I've brought up here. I will be reading them going forward. And of course, big shout outs to the channel members who have subscribed to the channel. Remember, you get a cool little emote in the comment section. You get the sub back.
Okay, we get it, Farfa. Yeah, chat. You guys should subscribe to me because I'm awesome and you guys are all lame. You guys being Farfa viewers. Anyways, I mean, I think like, yeah, ban list bad serves as marketing tool, but it was cool. I think that was pretty swag-tastic. But yeah, I mean, like, what else is there really to say? Ban lists are good. We've done it. Let me know what your thoughts are on the ban list down below. I've already talked about, I actually haven't really talked about it, so this kind of is my first time talking about the ban list. But yeah, like, I think the ban list as a concept was good. I think that the execution was kind of poo-poo, but that's just me. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video.